I'd like to call the Board of County Commissioners to order with the courthouse for after a year, 423 North Fifth. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, another cool spring day in Atchison. Do we have any public comment? If you do, please identify yourself. I don't see any. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from last meeting?
Yes,
Do I have a motion to approve as presented?
so moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Quinn, seconded by Commissioner Knoll. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Passes 3-0. Okay, Commissioner comments and committee reports. Casey?
I think I just want to reiterate after our special meeting yesterday that COVID-19 is not over. We did remove the mandates yesterday and allowed people to plan for graduations and the future. However, please, everyone in Atchison County, use common sense and continue to do your part to keep us all safe. Wear a mask, wash your hands, and we will move forward together. So
Yeah.
The governor's mask mandate is still in place.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, Eric, do you have anything?
No, but I want to add to Casey's comment and these businesses that wanted this, now's your chance to use the lessons that's been learned in the last year, because it's, ultimately to keep that business going, you're going to have to keep them healthy. So, we just can't go back to pre-COVID ways of doing business. And I know that you've done a lot of learning, and as we all have. And so I just want to urge businesses to use caution.
I have no comments today. Okay. New business before the board. Corey Scott, Emergency Medical Service Director, sealed bid opening for ambulances.
Afternoon, everyone.
Hi.
I've got 2 bids for our new ambulance. I want to point out that due to the COVID protocol, the opening is a little bit different, and I apologize for any challenges presented with this. Per the normal, they were submitted to the clerk's office, but what is different today is I picked them up at 11 o'clock. They have remained sealed and in my possession instead of normally walking them over to the commission meeting. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that. So if you're ready, we can begin opening. Again, bear with me.
We didn't get as many bids this time.
No, sir.
How many do you put it out to, Corey?
And we put it out publicly and try to keep that, as equitable and as fair as we can possibly make it. So I don't know if anything's changed over who would have seen it last time. I do know that at least one bidder from last time is also now out of business due to COVID. So that probably reduced our bids at least by 1 there. Okay, bid number 1 is from Osage Ambulances in Jefferson City, Missouri. And their total unit price is $228,239. Would be again Osage Ambulances out of Jefferson City, Missouri. Okay. Next one is in a box.
Maybe they have a scale model in there.
It is from American Response Vehicles. And I can't remember where they're out of off the top of my head here. I'm not seeing their address immediately. Here it is. They are from Columbia, Missouri. Their bid is for $248,806. $248,806.
Quite a difference.
Yeah.
So you need the time to analyze that and come back to us?
Well, that's what I would ask, given the complexity and nature of such apparatus. I would ask that the commission table this bid opening until I can review both bids and bring them back next week with a recommendation.
The commission okay with that?
Yes.
Yep.
I would ask for a vote. So all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. Thanks, Corey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have to do your homework. Okay, Joe Snyder, Dr. Sweet Chemical bid open.
Yeah, Wes is gonna help us here. We haven't been through this before. I think, did we only get one bid?
Yes, there was only one bid. Can you hear me okay, Joe?
Yes.
Yes, there was only one bid. I have it here. It's from Van Deest Supply Company out of Lindsborg, Kansas. So I'm gonna go ahead and open it for you then.
Does it
All
matter
right.
you're not on there?
I have one piece of paper, their grand total. Do you want it broken down, Joe, or do you want just the grand?
Grand total, Wes, or do we need it broken down?
So we'll need both. We'll need to know what chemical they're bidding, if they did any generic chemicals, so not name brand chemicals versus what you spec'd out. We'll need to know, it's all one shipment, right? We didn't have to break this one up between first shipment and second shipment.
Right.
So we need to know based on chemical, based on generic, and total price.
Okay, it looks like there's 20 gallons of panoramic 4x1 at $89.99 per gallon, for a total of $1,799.80. 800 gallons of the 2,4-D amine 4-pound acid at 8.78 per gallon, for a total of $7,024. 60 gallons of the Remedy Ultra at $44.44 per gallon, for a total of $2,666.40. And then 120 ounces of the MSM Allegiance, is that what I think is what it is? Allegiance at $189 an ounce, to a total of $226.80. For a grand total of $11,717. And I do have two alternates listed. I do have the Escort 8x8 at $2.13 per ounce. That is not in the totals. And then I do have the Plateau. Is that right? Plateau,
Yes.
2x1, $100.04 per gallon. Those were the alternates, and they were not in the total.
So the Plateau is a generic for the panoramic, which is about $20 cheaper a gallon. And the MSM is a generic for the Escort, which was the difference between $2.39 and $1.89 an ounce. Those all are comparable prices with what they've been in the past, and with only one bid. I would suggest that the Noxious Weed Department would accept that bid, and the commission approved that purchase. Keep in mind, this year we ordered drastically less chemical than we ever have in the past, or that we will next year, because of not being able to sell chemical last year. Normally, there's 2 shipments of chemical to come in. We do one in February, with the bids in February, that delivers in March, and then in May. This year, we didn't have to do that because of the carryover that we had from previous years, since they couldn't sell chemical in previous years. So this is a much smaller bid than it normally would be.
I've got a question on the alternates. Is that just that they're priced and you can swap them in and out? Or when you accept this bid, are you taking the ones that were actually asked for prices?
So I would suggest taking the generic. They asked for the panoramic and the Escort. The generic is cheaper, but still will do the same exact thing. And so any cost savings that we can pass on to our citizens would be a smart move.
So the actual total will not be 11,717. It will be, if you sub these in, it will be a lower amount. Is that correct?
No, wasn't the name brand at the
The
bottom?
Escort is the name brand, correct?
Yes.
And the Plateau is the name brand as well,
No, Panoramic is the name brand. Plateau.
right? But these were the higher prices.
Oh,
these are
okay. All right. I
not-
haven't
Those are not
swapped.
included in. the
All
grand
right, I'm
totals.
sorry.
You put the lower prices in the bid.
So the lower prices are in the bid and the higher prices are separated, the two by themselves, correct?
Correct.
Yeah,
That's what I'm understanding.
brain
So,
off.
and it looks like the prices are loaded from March 10th of 21 to September 30th of 21.
And Van Diest is typically who always wins the bid. Normally we have 3 or 4 bids, so I'm surprised that we don't this year. It was sent out to the normal companies and it was also posted on our county website as we normally do. So I'm surprised that we only had 1 bid this year. But Van Diest is usually who wins the bid for ours because they are always a cheaper price. They have excellent customer service. And we've never had any problems with them in the past.
Do I have a motion?
I want to make sure that, Joe, you don't need to look at this or do anything with it. Are you ready for us to act?
I'm confident in the information we've got
Okay,
here
I'll make
today.
a bid. I'll make a motion that we accept the bid from Van Beek from Lindsberg in a total amount of $11,717
I'll
for the
second.
chemical.
Moved by Commissioner Knoll, seconded by Commissioner Quinn. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0.
Thank
Okay,
you, Wes.
Thank you.
approval of the joint communication CIP purchase order. Michelle, I do not have a purchase order. You have a purchase
I think
order?
I do have one right here. I did not print all of the pages that were included with it, because it did show a lot of the descriptive, they were more descriptive with what was being asked of.
I accidentally did that if you want to see that.
Okay.
Me and all my papers over here.
The chair would entertain a motion to approve purchase order to JT Communications for CIP plan purchase that includes 2 iPads for the city fire department, 2 Microsoft Surface Books, 5 Dell Optic desktops, 25 Motorola batteries, 5 Motorola batteries for the EM rescue, 40 Motorola batteries. What's the SOs?
The sheriff's office.
What?
The 40 batteries is for the sheriff's office.
Sheriff's Office, $4,200. And the 25 Motorola Rural Fire Department batteries for $2,625, for a total of $21,362.63. This is a budgeted item by the Joint Communications. Do I have a motion? Do I have a? Let me see, did I make the motion? Oh, I forgot it.
I think you asked for a motion.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Quinn,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Knoll. Discussion?
I'd like to say that I'm kind of on the fence about some of these expenditures, but what sways me in this instance is it was approved last year in the CIP. And so that's the reason I think since it's in the budget, I'm going to go ahead and go with it. But I think that this is part of the expenditures that we need to include a long, hard topic and make sure that this is where we're going to go in the future
Anything
or not.
Anything, Commissioner Quinn, you want to add?
No, I would say the same, just, we're gonna move forward because this was budgeted, for this year. But there have been several questions that have been brought up that need us to have, further discussions on what that looks like in the future, so, I appreciate it, and that's all I
Okay,
got.
all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes 3-0.
Who's gonna maintain those computers?
What?
Who's gonna maintain those computers?
Who's getting the computers?
Rural Fire Department.
These are all questions we need to ask, Jack, I guess. That's what the case was saying. A lot of questions to ask.
The Atchison County IT department was planning on making sure that they had antivirus on them and checking on them yearly. Just to make sure they stay up to date and are used purposely for the county
How are they disposed of after use?
through our county policy.
They don't work under county policy.
Joint Communications owns all of the equipment, so they should.
Okay, county councilor update.
Did you have any other? Were you guys still discussing? I didn't.
Yeah, I've presented all my questions and apparently there's not any concern from anybody on that, but I don't understand how we can continue to do this. We've completely put it's not just about these computers, it's about the radios, it's about everything. And we don't have any policies in place. We don't have any lease agreements. We don't have any appropriate documentation, who's responsible for any damages or misuse of any of this county equipment. And we're just going to continue to put it out there.
Yeah, Jack, I think that the commission agrees with you. We also think there has to be a further discussion. I would tell you that it's a concerning solid waste joint communication has from 2014 to 2021 has increased by 135%. It's extremely been expensive. I don't know all the reasons for it. I think it's worth taking a definite look at. And we've got to schedule as one of our priorities to discuss this year.
So is the board liable in any way?
That's a discussion we're going to have.
No, I'd like, hold on. Sorry, I don't know if we are or not.
To ask a question, is somebody liable in any way, an open-ended question like that is probably a discussion we ought to have in executive session.
Okay.
If I don't know whether, yeah, it's a discussion you should have in executive session.
Okay, anything else, Jeff? County councilor updates.
Okay, the police purchase financing for the Durapatcher machine. I've worked with GNB Bank on that. I think what we have everything just about ready. They need a copy of the minutes from today that were approved today. They also have asked that one of the three of you be designated as the person to sign documents so that they don't have to come back to the meeting next week to have them. And that's Road and Bridge's desire as well to get this done quicker. It could really be any of the three of you because they could be signed in my office or they could be signed at their bank. So
Is there, you don't know what day or when that time would actually be?
no, I don't.
Well, I would recommend that all these kind of things like would be the chairman. Next year, whoever the chairman is, they would be the person. So I think at least that's my thinking. Is
Well, and that was
designate
our
the chairman.
discussions, streamlining the process so that we don't have to ask this question every time. I
Yeah,
agree.
okay.
That's fine with me, only if it was something that you weren't available or things like that.
But it'll be up to the vice chairman, I guess.
Well, you-
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm not questioning it, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm not out of town or whatever. It would be another question. So do we need to make a motion into that effect? Or
No.
just-
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
Because I think you've already approved the lease purchase. It's just formalizing.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a right-of-way purchase agreement, an option to purchase right-of-way. As you know, when we go to improve a bridge or culverts even, sometimes we don't always know the exact amount of right-of-way that we will need for the bridge. And so we've come up with a process of purchasing options that set out a methodology for determining what the price will be based on how many square feet that we use and comparing that with the per acre price. We had purchased an option regarding Bridge 270 on Ottawa Road. That option has expired. In speaking with the landowners, they're willing to execute a new agreement that would be exactly the same as if we had exercised it. Because our agreements also called for, let's say, $100 fee to extend an option, and that's the exact price that we would be paying for a new option. And this is one, I think that the reason there was a request that we have that is that there will definitely be some fence work that's done and a gate that's going to have to be moved, and possibly a field entrance that might take some work on it. Was part of the original agreement and is part of this agreement as well. So I do have a option purchase agreement. It's already been signed by the landowners that I would ask you to consider.
The chair would entertain a motion to approve the option agreement with Robert Judd and Karen Judd, allowing the chairman to sign on behalf of the county. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
It's been moved by Commissioner Quinn,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Knoll. Discussion?
No, I read through it earlier.
Yeah, that's the one I'd look at. Yeah.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. We just sign this one.
Yes, please.
There's not a place for me to sign.
No, it's on the third page.
Okay. I always look at the last page, Pat. Pass that over to Pat and the clerk, whoever needs it. Okay, any need for executive session? I'm sorry, Pat.
Well, I don't have it back from district court yet, but subject to the court's approval, I'm expecting the tax sale will be April 21st at 10 a.m. at Memorial Hall.
10 a.m.
10 a.m.
So are we going to have it available by Zoom bidding, or is it all going to need to be in person?
Well, I think the sheriff could determine that. When we talked earlier, we thought that it would be pretty difficult to be able to keep track of votes or of bids that were coming in electronically as well. So I think it's going to be live.
Okay.
But
we really don't have the proper software to do an online bidding process.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, don't the people have to show up to get their approval number, or don't we have them go in and have their financial in place before the bidding?
Yeah, we're going to try to have that done as much as possible before the actual sale date.
Okay, before the day even, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
It should be published this weekend in the Globe, the list.
Excellent.
Okay. And you told me yesterday we only have, if we did another one right away, there's only 26 properties.
It's something like that.
Yeah.
I haven't gone through all of them. Michelle and I ran the property, the eligible property list, and after taking out the properties that are on the current sale. And then there are some other properties on there as well. That I think we taking off properties, for example, that have less than $100 that are owed. I'm sorry, I wasn't really prepared to give
No, that's
all the
okay, I'm sorry.
statistics about everything, but let's see. There are 20 of those have less than $200 that are owed. There's perhaps a dozen of those that have only a solid waste fee from 2012. Those are typically $61, and those were all entities that that typically don't pay, that are exempt from ad valorem taxes, but they're not exempt from solid waste assessment that need to be paid. There are a few that are in bankruptcy. There's a couple that we have that we apparently didn't get the taxes cleared off from prior tax sales.
So with some of those properties that are like under the 200 or just have a solid waste fee, do we still send them notice, hey, you're qualifying to be on the tax sale, we need you to get this cleaned up? Or how does that work? I'm just curious.
It's really going to be a case-by-case basis on them. There's a couple of them that are owned by the city's land bank that I haven't had time to investigate them and look at. There's one of them I know went through a mortgage foreclosure case, and the taxes that are owed are for a year prior to that sale. I think that there's possible there's an error on that property. I do not generally send out letters to people telling them that you have an unpaid tax, but we're not going to do anything about it. But it's really going to be a tract by tract discussion about them. And I would need to, I need to do more investigation about that, but we're just trying to be proactive to get ready for the next sale. I'm really not ready to talk in any more depth about it intelligently.
Any other comments? Pat?
I've got a question back on tax sale though. For people that are interested in a property, and you said that they were going to try to get the financials taken care of before, who should they contact to say that
They should
they're,
go to the website and they should go to the website and sign up.
that everything's on the website?
Well, that part is not yet on the website, but
It will be.
yeah, we will email to them.
So I want to make a comment, when I got on the commission, I think, I don't remember 3 or 4 years ago, like I've been on forever, but I thought the tax sale was something, just decide you're gonna have it on Tuesday. I didn't realize how many people, the treasurer, the clerk, GIS, the assessor, the attorneys, the courts, because it protects the rights of the property owners by going through all those processes. And the idea at the end of the day is for us to collect taxes that are owed to us and the city and the school districts. I just didn't even realize how much work and effort there is into it. And I'd like to thank everybody who's involved with this tax sale and the next tax sale. Obviously, if there's only 26 properties or whatever it might be going forward, it's working. We're collecting our taxes. So I want to give a kudos to everybody. So
I would agree with that, because watching a few years ago, it's like when it was let go for so long and then you have to crawl back from the past. So it's nice to get caught up and have the work that you guys are putting into.
I know if
to
you catch,
getting it.
if you catch somebody on the street in PC, Eric, same thing. People want to talk about the tax sale.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you don't have any details sometimes. You think, why don't you know the details? Well, it's complicated.
I know Casey's been interested in this a long time because that was one of your big questions back when we was doing Project Atchison there. And I believe you had Pat come down and speak on that.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
And one of the main things is people see the 3-year thing. Well, that's owed 3 years ago. Well, that's 3 years, not just linearly. It's 3 years after they're delinquent. So there's so many intricacies that people don't understand, and it's very hard to explain to them. It's not just something that you can say, like you say, we're gonna have a tax sale tomorrow, or this is a cutoff and we can do it. So, Pat, I know it creates a lot of work, but thank you.
Yeah.
There are 49 properties that are currently, that are remaining left on the sale list. And we started with 113, and that represents about $275,000 in taxes that have been paid since the case was filed on
Right.
those properties. Well,
Excellent.
that's a low number. I should say it's at least that, because if they redeemed after tax statements went out, then there would have been another year of taxes paid on those. But
I mean, the money is good, but to me, it's getting those properties into hands or of people that are gonna clean them up, they're gonna keep them up. You know, a lot of these aren't just taxes being paid or not paid on them. They're in poor shape and they really need to be brought back into the fold where they're being mowed and taken care of. And so even though a lot of those, you're probably not gonna see any, profit on it, if that's what you want to use, it is getting them back and taken care of. So that's a big.
Anything else for Pat? Okay, public comment. Anybody want to take some time for public comment? Don't see anybody presenting themselves. Any further commissioner comments?
Do we want to, again, this is how to go about executive session to answer those questions.
I mean, for Jeff,
Mhm.
I don't think we're prepared to have. answer
Okay.
your questions.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Do you want to talk, Jeff?
You're muted.
You're muted. I can't hear you anymore.
When do you think you'll be prepared to answer those questions? Because I've been asking for about 3 weeks now, if not longer. And I have major concerns with these, the way this resolution is written and way the board could be liable, the members of the board could be liable. And I think it's, a legitimate question and concern on all levels. And I provided a lot of documentation to try to make, try to understand this more. And I don't know what else to do except to.
They are definitely.
How do I get removed from the board? I guess maybe if that's what I need to do.
There are definitely policy considerations that need to be done by the governing bodies, everybody involved. So I think it's definitely a conversation. I just don't know if an executive session is appropriate right now. If the other commissioners feel it is, that's, I don't know if Pat's prepared. I mean, I just don't know if people are prepared to have this conversation. I mean, he's our attorney. I mean, I'd like to know if he's prepared to have these conversations.
well, I mean, some of the things you're talking about, you're saying are policy decisions that need to be made. Those are made by the board. That's not a proper topic for executive session. The question that was asked was simply, are we liable in any way? It's a very open-ended question, so I'd like to get some clarity about what the question is, and then I think I could talk to the sheriff about that and what his concerns are, but that's really up to the board. If you want to have an executive session to discuss that now, you could do that.
I mean, I guess my concern is that I listened to the concerns of the use of sales tax by all three commissioners, and some have difference of opinions on it. Then the way the resolution reads is that the board has autonomy to spend the money as far as Joint Communications Board. Does that make the members of that board liable can be individually sued on that joint communications board for misuse of the equipment or expenditures that are approved by that board without, obviously this time this was approved by the county commissioners, but still the resolution's in place.
Well, it's up to the commissioner. They want to go into executive session to discuss this.
I don't know what I could add today, but I mean, that's, I'm not unwilling, so I don't know.
So does someone want to make a motion or something? Or?
That particular question is asking about the liability of a board that I don't represent. And asking, I don't know how much my advice to you about someone else's liability is worth, but did I understand that was the question regarding liability of members of that board?
Can we be held liable civilly or criminally for anything that's misused, that's purchased by the authority of the Joint Communications Board?
So the question now involves civil and criminal liability for members of that board. So you're not asking about the county's liability. You're asking about liability of members of that board.
I don't know. I don't know. Are we bound by the resolution, or are we bound by state law? Or liability? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my concern. These are county general funds technically, and the board has been given the authority to spend it.
If they spent 135% increase over 7 years.
And those are the concerns I
It's been
hear.
approved by the governing body, so in all fairness, so.
Until today, it wasn't.
Mhm.
The past expenditures.
Well, again, that sounds to me like those are policy questions, not legal questions. And so I think.
Who represents the Joint Communications Board?
I don't know. I'm not on their board, and I've not been to any of their meetings. I don't think I've ever been to one of their meetings.
So I'm the appointed commissioner. Is that me? I'm just,
So, no, I mean, you're asking about who's legal counsel for that board?
Does that board? I mean, who do they? Yeah.
They want special legal representation, or separate from the county or city or.
I don't know whether they feel they need legal advice or not. I don't represent them. I've never been asked to give them legal advice.
So what I'm hearing is you're not prepared to answer the questions today.
Well,
Or
that question is not these are policy questions that need to be asked.
Mhm.
I won't be prepared in a month to answer who is their attorney unless
Yeah.
somebody tells me.
Yeah.
That it's not a legal question.
so I have a quick question because I need to better understand. So as one small example of the resolution and section 5 saying the board shall adopt bylaws which will outline the purpose, organization, and responsibilities of such board. That was not done. So does that mean this resolution is still, I mean, it was signed off on by commissioners and clerk and mayor and city clerk. But if the resolution has flaws or holes that haven't been done,
Those are policy matters that the governing bodies need to address or should address.
okay. And for someone like me that needs assistance with that, who would give that to me?
Well, I think I'm not sure what you're asking. If you're asking if you can talk to me about the legal ramifications of things, I'd be happy to talk with you about them.
Okay.
but I've not been asked to give advice to that board. And I don't represent that board. The fact that the resolution may not have been followed is a political question. It's not,
Okay,
it's not really a legal question.
okay. Sorry, I just don't know the
Well,
process.
no, I know, I
No,
understand.
that's a good question, and that kind of leads me to,
Like, I see your concerns, Jack, and I'm trying to listen to all sides, and it is a priority for mine. I just don't know, like, I'm trying to understand how we get through this and figure it out quickly so that we're not going through a budget season with all these unanswered questions is what.
Sure, and I'm not trying to cause too many issues with this. It's just, you know, there's a lot of components to it, and you know.
Well, as far as I can tell, obviously, the document was signed by the governing bodies, maybe not fully understanding or an expectation, who knows, I mean, I signed it. The expectations of the board, and I understand that, Jack. My question is, we go into executive session, we're gonna be bound by advice from our counsel, and he can't answer policy questions, and if there's a specific legal question we need to talk about, my suggestion is you talk to our county counselor and then come back next week with the discussion among the board on that question.
Okay.
Does that make sense, or?
can I ask, I see Wes is on, can I ask you a question, Wes?
Yes.
Or maybe it could have been Jack, but I was just wondering, have you had legal representation for this board, and who did you use? And there's,
No,
I know you've been on there a long time, that's the reason I went to you, I'm sorry.
no, me and Jack were on the same time at reorganization in 2014, and we've never had to ask for legal representation. But I was always under the understanding that Jack as a county elected official and myself and as appointed official, that Patrick Henderson was always our legal representation. Is
For the
that not-
county?
Well, that was my next question is, I was this reclassified as a non-county board or something outside of the purview of the county? And I mean, does that have a special classification? So thus justifying someone else as their counsel. So I was just kind of trying to get some clarification on that.
And it's not just legal. And I mean, if you disagree with the way the sales tax money is being used as a commissioner, and Jack agrees and Casey disagrees, then you know, where do I stand at making decisions at that board level if you don't feel that it's being used properly by the board? And you know what problems could that cause for the county?
I only have one opinion, that the intent of the voters for the 1993 resolution, which was to support, the sales tax was to support the solid waste and joint communications. And that was what the intent of the voters was. Today, that's not happening. The intent of the voters is not happening, and I would support that it should. So I don't want to get my opinion mixed in there. I'm for the sovereign vote of the sovereign voter in this county that voted in 1993. And if we need to revote it, well, that's another discussion.
To clarify, it's clear to me, and I hope it's clear to the members of the Board of County Commissioners, that my client has always been the Board of County Commissioners as a whole. And maybe it hasn't come to pass that but in the right circumstances, my client would actually be the majority of the Board of County Commissioners if there came a time where there was a disagreement among the three commissioners about how to proceed in some legal matter. As an accommodation to many other municipalities, I've offered legal advice to them when they've requested it, like townships. I don't represent them, but and they're not exactly subdivisions of the county. They're subdivisions of the state, but they're not. And there's definitely some interplay here. With regard to employees, to the extent that they're of the county, to the extent that they're operating in the scope of employment, I could give them legal advice about matters and have done so many times. With regard to elected officials, the same holds true, but it's also their prerogative to, and if they desire, to obtain outside counsel and get independent advice. And I've advised more than one elected official of that. There are some sheriff's offices, for example, that have, like Leavenworth, I think they have an attorney on staff. I know that Shawnee County and bigger counties would have an attorney that would be separate from the county counselor's office. And there have been many times throughout the state where there's been, for example, an ouster proceedings or something like that, where the county's paying both sides of a legal fight between an elected official and the Board of County Commissioners. Fortunately, we haven't had that here, but they've had it in Leavenworth and they've had it in Topeka and many other places. So I hope that gives some clarity to at least what I view my role as and what the statutes impose as my role as county council. So
I would assume that you wouldn't represent the board since there are non-county employees on the board, Joint Communications Board. So,
well, certainly, I think it would depend on what the matter was and whether it was something that would, there was a likelihood or even a good possibility that there would be a conflict. But, for example, if they wanted me to look at a contract on putting in a vending machine, I think I could probably do that without it causing, without there being much chance of there being a conflict. But it's really going to be fact specific on what the issue is. So to make a blanket statement, I don't know that I don't know that I could do that.
The chair would entertain a motion to go to executive session if the commission feels that there's a commissioner that wants to do that, and if there's going to be a second. So it's up to the commissioners whether they want to move this forward at this time or delay the discussion to some other time.
I would just, if anybody's interested in discussing this with me, I'd be glad to discuss it with them and my concerns. If I have to retain my own legal counsel, I will, if that's what it's going to take to remove myself from any liabilities, future liabilities, then I guess I'll have to do that.
Understand you.
So as far as my take on this is, I think executive session for me at this moment wouldn't be fruitful. But with that being said, I will make it a priority to go through this section by section with all of my questions and your concerns and put those out so that I can find the answers and we can have these discussions. And so, I mean, I don't like dragging things along, and it's of course an issue, and we just need to sit down and get it ironed out one way or another. So
Thank you.
Okay. The chair would entertain a motion to adjourn at 1:49 p.m.
Second.
It's moved by Commissioner Knoll, seconded by Commissioner Quinn. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are now adjourned.
Yeah.